Good evening, everyone. Folks online, can you hear us? Just want to check the sound. Oh, great. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. We got a small crowd here tonight, which is good, bad. I don't know. It is what it is. But thank you all for coming. And thank you, folks, for being online, for joining us for tonight's ANC 34G regular meeting. My name is Lisa Gore. I am the chairperson of the ANC. And we're going to get started and get through our agenda, hopefully get everyone home on time. So we will call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. and we'll start with commissioner introductions from my left to right, and then any commissioner that's online.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Ferguson. I represent Single Member District 07, and I'm also the treasurer.
Hi, I'm Peter Gosselin. I'm the vice chair, and I represent District 6, which is largely the west side of Connecticut Avenue back to Friendship Heights. Welcome.
And I'm Lisa Gore. I'm the commissioner for Single Member District 34G01, which is all of Hawthorne and portions of Dartmouth. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Nash, the commissioner for Single Member District 03, the southeasternmost part of our ANC.
And I'm Bruce Sherman, Single Member District 02 Commissioner for that territory.
Wow.
I did.
It doesn't sound like it.
I get it. Okay, commissioners, with that, yeah, it sounds like it might be you, Bruce. We will go with a discussion of the announcement of meeting procedures and adoption of the agenda. So in terms of meeting procedures, for people in the audience, if you want to speak on an issue, just go straight to the mic when there's an opportunity to. For folks online, if you could raise your hand. The raise your hand feature is in the reaction section, which is kind of right in the bottom middle of your screen. If you hit that little reactions, you'll see a raise hand function. And if you raise your hand, we will call on you. And I just ask everyone to be civil in the discussion. Commissioners, is there any modifications to the agenda? Commissioner Ferguson.
I wanted to add the item on the RASE historic window project.
Raised historic window?
Yeah, I emailed the commissioners on February 29th about the RASE committee is working on.
Oh, race. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Are we talking about the agenda?
Yes.
Let's leave that off for 1 second. Yeah,
I need to amend the agenda to take up the CVS parking lot issue, which we began a discussion of at our last meeting. I think I'll have a very simple proposal about this. I believe the lawyers representing the owners of the parking lot are online, and they may want to say something, but we can handle it relatively quickly. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, any more amendments to the agenda?
I've got I do.
wow, you have a hot
Oh, no.
I do. I have no idea why. This is one. Yeah.
I can't do it on my computer.
So this would be an amendment to the agenda, although it is an admin related issue. Given the time sensitivity, I just wanted to put it on the agenda. I'm advocating that we allocate a few of our resources in our budget to have a tech person help us. I'm offering myself to find that tech person between now and the next meeting. I talked to Kent about how we could expedite that, and I think I have an idea of how that can be done quickly within all the regulations.
Okay.
So if we wanted to go ahead as a commission and decide to do that, if we need census allocation of resources, we'd have to make the decision to do it.
Okay. Okay, with that said, Commissioners, I move we adopt the agenda as amended to include the race historic windows discussion, CVS parking lot, and allocating budget to a tech person. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. 5-0. So in this section of the agenda, we have the ANC 34G resident forum, where any resident has an opportunity to speak on an issue that's currently not on the agenda. And if any member in the audience wants to speak on something, you can go straight to the mic. If any member in the online community wants to raise an issue, please raise your hand. Yep, you can go straight to the mic. Mhm.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Tamara Sainton, and I'm a junior reporter from Howard University. And I'm just asking a few questions. I know that there's been some community outreach about the social housing going on in the community center and around here. So I was just hoping to get some updates and see what's going on. I know you're accepting proposals from developers. So just any update would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Let me see. We don't have that on the agenda. Peter, do you want to give? So it's an RFP that's been issued, and I know you said social housing, but it's affordable as opposed to social in terms of, and I'm thinking of the social housing legislation that's by the council. So I just want to make sure to clarify that. But there is a RFP that's been issued by the city. Right now, they're in the midst of getting proposals. I don't have the closing date. I don't know if any other commissioners do. You know, the April 18th. Whew, we're getting there. So we're kind of in I wouldn't say a lull, but we're kind of in a period where we're waiting for those development teams to come in and actually address it. I know there are a few development teams out there that have reached out to some commissioners to discuss it, and they are supposed to show that they've engaged with the commission and the community. So we'll probably have some more of that going on up until that closing date. And then, you know, once those proposals are made public, then things will start to ramp up a little bit more. But any commissioners, do you guys have anything in addition to that? Peter?
Well, I just say that we've had a discussion among ourselves about meeting informally with developers just to convey what we think we've learned about community sentiment about this project. In fact, and I've said that I'm prepared to meet with developers, potential teams, but I'm going to disclose it. And in fact, I've met with Victoria Davis, who's online tonight from Urban Atlantic. And she talked generally about some of their ideas. And I mean, I think the message that I want to give, and I think other commissioners want to give, is go at it, you know, make it better. We don't know what's going to come our way when we see the proposals that come in. So we will talk probably later in this meeting about some of the rules of the road for that. So thank you.
Anything else, commissioners, on that one? Does that answer some of your questions? Okay, thank you. Great. Anyone else in the audience? Anyone else online? Okay, seeing no, we'll keep going with the meeting. Thank you. That's a great question. And I hope if you guys continue to cover this topic, you know, check in and check the meeting schedule, because it's going to get interesting. We're definitely at a quiet point now, but it's going to ramp up. So next on the agenda is the discussion and possible vote on BZA special exemption application for 5504 33rd Street, and that's Commissioner Nash. And commissioners, let me know if you want, before we go, Commissioner Nash, if the CVS parking lot discussion, that's what I was gonna suggest, yep. And then the race historic window discussion, do you guys want to do that before or after we take up performance oversight? Okay, and then the budget tech piece, I think we should have in commission business, because that's a budget discussion and personnel. Okay. Okay, Commissioner Nash.
Okay. Yep. So I'm going to just spend a minute to introduce this matter, but I'm assuming that Ms. Brown is with us. Is she there? Oh, yeah, I can see her
Yes.
there. Okay, good. All right. This is
I don't.
a special exception application that NG Otker is doing. She lives just down the street from me. I've been to her house. It's a very small addition to her kitchen, but it crosses a line that by 4 feet that zoning has. But she's talked to her neighbors on each side of her, and they're all fine with this. So I don't think it shouldn't be much of a problem. Ms. Brown, did you want to take it from there?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Carolyn Brown. I'm with the Brown Law Firm. I'm a zoning counsel to Ms. Inchi Akhtar. I have a very brief PowerPoint, if I can share my screen.
So we're working on that now. I don't have host controls. I think it has to be this computer.
Let me see if I can do that.
And if not, I'm happy just to speak from my notes.
No, we prefer to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, it needs for the visuals.
Okay.
It's gotta be back there.
And are you here?
Okay, Carolyn, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So good evening again. I am here tonight on behalf of Ms. Inchi Akhtar, who resides at 5504 33rd Street. We are seeking some zoning relief for, I'm going to try to enlarge this a tad for you. We're seeking zoning, special exception relief from the rear yard and side yard requirements in order to construct a rear addition. And I'm trying to fix the view for myself. There we go. Full screen mode. Great. So the two areas of relief again are rear yard out of subtitle D, section 207.1. And the zoning administrator's office has also suggested that we need side yard relief from subtitle D, section 208.1. Neither I nor the Office of Planning or others in the zoning administrator's office believe we need the side yard relief, but we're going to request it anyway, just to cover all our bases. This slide shows on the left-hand side, the plat. 33rd Street is on the left. To the rear is the public alley. The circle shows in the hatched area, the addition that's being proposed. It's approximately 8 feet by 12 feet. And you will see a line running through the middle of it. That is the rear yard, required rear yard line, which is measured from the rear property toward the front. And at the bottom of the drawing, you'll see the south property line, and you'll see the distance of a 25-foot dimension. That is the required rear yard. And so this addition projects into the required rear yard by approximately 4.2 feet. So instead of 25 feet, we'll have approximately 20.8 feet of the rear yard. At the top of the left image, you'll see an arrow that points to a side yard area. You'll see a dimension of 3.5 feet. That is the current distance between the north property line and the existing single-story garage. And that is where the Office of Zoning Administrator said we need relief. Others in that office have said we don't. The Office of Planning agrees that we don't, but that's the area of relief that we're going to request anyway. On the right-hand side, you will see that the image has been rotated clockwise so that the circle shows the new sitting room proposed. It's at the kitchen area, and just gives a little more detail on where it's located. This is the image of what the rear of the property will look like with the addition, just showing the location of it, actually, not the finish of it. The circle shows that it's just a one-story addition, again, 8 feet by 12 feet. As Mr. Nash noted, there are 2 letters of support from the neighbors on either side at 5500 33rd Street to the south and 5510 33rd Street to the north. And we therefore are requesting support from the ANC 4G for the request of relief because the light and air available to neighboring properties will not be unduly affected. The privacy of use and enjoyment of neighboring properties will not be unduly compromised, and the proposed addition shall not substantially visually intrude upon the character and scale of the houses along the street or alley frontage. And that concludes our remarks, and I hope that you will approve our application. Thank you.
All right, so shall I read the resolution that I'm proposing?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll read the resolved part of the resolution that I've drafted here. Resolved, ANC 34G supports Ms. Otker's special exception application for rear yard relief under subtitle D, section 207.1 to construct a rear addition to her house, and recommends that the BZA grant the requested relief in BZA case number 21078 and any additional relief deemed necessary by the BZA or the Office of the Zoning Administrator. Okay, any discussion on this?
Need a second.
Oh, right, sorry. So I have a second. Thank you. Okay, discussion. Okay. So can we have a vote? All in favor, raise your hands.
Commissioners online, raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So 6
6
0
0
0.
6 0.
Lisa, this is Michael. I'm here
Oh,
and
hey.
I don't oppose it.
Okay, 7 0.
Okay, so we have a 7-0 unanimous vote. Ms. Brown.
Thank you so
Thank-
much. Appreciate your time this evening. Have a good
Sure.
evening.
Sure,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay. Commissioner Goslin, you want to do your CVS discussion?
Marty Sullivan, could you raise your hand so we can find you and promote you to a co-host? Do you want to do, Marty is the lawyer for the owners of the CVS parking lot. The owners are coming in for a renewal of a special exception to use what is otherwise zoned as a residential parcel for parking, a use that it's been put to since at least 1953. Marty, do you want to speak? Do you want to share a presentation at all? I think we'll vote on it tonight. I'm going to have a proposal with regard to this. I think you're muted, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I didn't have anything more than what we talked about last week. I could show where it is if I could just share the Google view and the street view if.
Make them go.
I know.
Weird.
Marty, if you hold 1 second, we have a really clunky way of making you a co-host. So I've got to go over to the
Okay.
technology and fix it for 1 second. Hold on. Marty, you ought to be able to share your screen now. You want to try
Okay,
that?
thank you.
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay, so do you have that? Is it? No, wait. I'm not sure. Yeah, there it goes.
You just double click this so it's full screen so people here can see it a little better.
I don't know why it's not full screen. It's full screen on my end. I'm not sure what.
Go ahead.
Can you see that?
Fine. It's fine.
Unless you know what, let me try just put it on the other, I'll put it on the other screen here. 1 second. My other monitor. Is that better?
Go ahead and do it. I mean, it is no different than it was before, but it's
Okay, sorry. So yeah, this is the parking lot. It just goes to here. Doesn't go over here to the other space. I think it's 41 spaces. This has been approved continuously since I think it was 1953. It's been to the BZA at least 10 times for renewals. The last time was a 10-year renewal, so we were here in 2014. And we're asking for a permanent approval, so they don't have to continue coming back. I understand that may be a question for the ANC, but with us too is I think Mr. Malkat Singh may be here. Let me see. I was supposed to let him know again.
ask him to raise his hand if he is here. Is this Mr. Singh?
I just texted him again to see if he's on. And if you have any questions for him, I'll ask him. I can ask him questions here too if he can't get on.
Well, I have a simple question right off, which is, does Mr. Singh or the Chevy Chase Wine and Liquor own the parking lot, or do they just manage it? And is it? I don't know who the owner is.
The owner is a family, an extended family. So there's a lot of owners I've dealt with mainly two people over the last 10 years or so on this, and they've owned it for a long time. So yeah, Mr. Singh just manages it for them.
Is he coming on? I can move along and discuss this.
I texted him, I haven't
Okay.
heard from him.
So
Sorry.
Marty, why don't you take down your, unless other commissioners want to ask any questions? Okay. Let me speak briefly about this. I mean, we have had, the commissioners have traded emails on this. I think I, in some sense, left people, my fellow commissioners a little baffled last meeting about what I was talking about when I talked about leverage. We clearly have to support continued use of this parking lot for parking. Otherwise, those businesses are going to have a great deal of trouble. But the application is for indefinite use of this parking lot in a residential zoned area, that they would never come back again. They never have to come back to us or to the BZA. I think that is a mistake, and it's particularly a mistake at this time. There's going to be a lot changing in this community over the next 3 or 5 or 10 years, possibly including bike lanes on Connecticut Avenue, possibly all the way up to the Circle. As that happens, this community is going to lose some parking places, and it's going to have to make better use of the resources it has now for parking. And when I talked about leverage last time, what I mean is that I think we ought to support this application for a special exception, but only for 5 years, on the theory that we may need to come to these owners, the owner of this parking lot and as other ones in the Upper Connecticut Avenue area commercial corridor come due, to these owners, other owners as well, and say things like this: we want you to open your parking lot for general use. If we can raise money from the city for example, one of those monitoring systems that tells you where there are empty lots. Think of all the parking lots serving the Upper Connecticut Avenue commercial corridor being grouped together so that you could look at an app and see that, oh, while there's not a place open on the CVS parking lot, there is one on what's now an exclusive use PNC parking lot, so you could go over there. This will mean that we can make better use of the now somewhat limited, more limited resources, parking resources that we have. And I think that we need a forum for having that conversation with owners. And one of those forums would be when they come back to us for a special exception. So what I'm going to propose is that, and I'm not doing this in the form of a resolution, I propose I simply get your authorization to write a letter to BZA saying we support this special application, but only for 5 years. And that I'm happy to add language, Marty, this to for your clients that says we'll be open-minded after that. We may consider longer periods in the future. But I think that we're going to be ready for changes that are likely to occur in our neighborhood in the coming years. We're going to need to have conversations with all of the parking lot owners. CVS, as it turns out, is one that is up for general use and is overused. So I do think that's the proposal I'd make for what I'd seek authorization for a letter to BZA. Should I ask for a second for that? So do I have a second for that? Second. Okay. Commissioner Nash seconded. One other thing I want to say, I think that we might want to add a sentence. I'd like your authorization to add a sentence to the letter. We received a letter from a neighbor who says to ask 2 things. One, that it not be an indefinite extension. And the other, he says, is that when there is snow, the parking lot does not handle it well. It should do a better job of plowing. And I think we might just have a little prompt in the letter that asks owners to do a better job of clearing that parking lot at times of snow. I can read you what the resident Peter Kolker wrote. The owner of the lot does not clear snow or ice, and this has been a perennial problem. With foot traffic at this location, the snow is tamped down and quickly forms ice and is bound to cause many accidents. I have complained about this with very limited results. If the CVS special exception is to be renewed, some enforcement of the conditions in it should be incorporated, because having a requirement for clearing snow without some enforcement is worthless. I'm not sure how we can enforce, but perhaps a fine payable to DC government or to the ANC in an escalating amount for repeated violations. I am not prepared to make a proposal about an enforcement mechanism tonight. But I do think that something in the letter saying this is
To the BZA.
to the BZA saying we've received a complaint about this. So that's the proposal. I don't know, Marty, if you want to react to that. Do other commissioners have questions for me? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to understand the relationship here. So first of all, I didn't get the owner of this lot. Who is are there multiple owners of this lot? And then do they lease it to CVS and the other businesses for money? Is that the relationship?
Marty, can you address that?
Yes, yeah, so it's a family that's owned it for many years, an extended family. The main person I've dealt with is a guy named Bob Holland. I'm sorry, my printer's printing for some reason. Somebody else in the house is doing it. And they own the CVS properties as well and the parking lot. So yes, they lease those too. And I'm not sure if it's included in the lease for the CVS property or if it's a separate lease or not.
Okay, so currently this lot is only used supposedly by CVS customers. Is that correct? Or
there's 5 stores. And I could pull up the list. I understand, and this is one of the things I told the owner that needs updated, I believe. Is that right, Commissioner Goslin? One of the stores was no longer there.
Yeah, Jim, the lot serves all the 5500 block businesses, Opal, Child's Play. I assume the gym the underground gym, Chevy Chase Wine and Liquor, and CVS. I mean, what we talked about last time. There are signs posted on the parking lot. Many of those businesses are long gone. Arugula is one of them. So, but the truth is that lot is a general use lot. I mean, it may not, maybe it's not supposed to be, but it's a heavily used and a general use lot.
Peter, this came up last meeting and it's come up again tonight. It wasn't on the agenda for tonight. Was there a packet of some sort that was part of the materials that we were all to look at? I'm thinking about public awareness of it, not only commissioner awareness.
Yeah, I sent that after the last meeting. You asked about that picture, and I realized I had not sent it to you, so I sent it around.
Okay.
It's a kind of voluminous package. I think I sent it around with a note saying that the narrative starts on page, I think, 6 or something.
Right. I'm just referring though for the public's awareness about this. I know there were some questions last time from neighbors, which you've already referenced in terms of neighbor notification within a certain radius. Perhaps Mr. Sullivan can speak to satisfying all neighbor concerns if we're going to vote on this tonight.
Okay. Let me, Marty, this is addressed to you. In the wake of this is a failure on my part to get to you and actually to the neighbors. In the wake of last week's meeting, a couple of people wrote me saying, at last week's meeting, I asked you if you had notified all neighbors of this request for a special exception, and you said you had. And immediately after the meeting, I received several emails from abutting owners saying they'd received nothing. So I want to be sure, and I think Bruce is right, that we should make this conditional on being sure that all neighbors are notified of the request and know about the BZA hearing on, I think it is April 11th, and that you satisfied their concerns about such things as clearing the parking lot during storms.
Yeah, so we send out labels with all the owners of property within 200 feet of any boundary of the property, of the parking lot. And we give that to the BZA. And we have a copy of what they then send out, or I have a copy of those labels, so I can do that. But it's a 1-page notice. It may look like junk mail to them. Sometimes they have the wrong name on it too, if the property has changed hands recently. But that's how people would have been noticed of this. And regarding the snow, there is a condition in the order about the sidewalk between the parking lot and McKinley, and I think that's probably what they were referencing. And it is enforceable as a zoning condition. So because it's in the order, I mean, for what it's worth, it's probably easier than most other things to enforce, because a call to the zoning administrator might trigger enforcement without having to provide any additional enforcement language. It is a zoning condition that's supposed to be complied with. And I'll make sure I get back to the owner and the caretaker to make sure that they are aware that that is an issue that's been raised.
Could I suggest that you also notify abutting property owners of that route to satisfy their concerns? And with regard to notifying people, could I just ask, I've just pulled up one note. Do you have the list of people who you notified in front of you? Is Kathleen Ledane on that, on McKinley?
I should be able to pull it up in 1 second here.
And while Mr. Sullivan is looking, I think it's one thing to notify people. It's another thing to provide sufficient time and hear back if there is a concern. Notification is obviously the first step, but understanding that anyone does have an issue, not that they would have, but just want to make sure.
Well, Commissioner, look, I think that if we ask and we make it a conditional letter, we will give abutting property owners the option of weighing in. I have a kind of immediate concern, which is I have an event that I put on, and therefore will not be at the March 25th meeting. And I believe, and Marty, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the BZA takes this up April 11th. I'm not sure we have a meeting before then. The other thing is, and this is a point that was made in the email exchanges between us, this is a parking lot that's been a parking lot for as long as most of us has been alive. And it will be devastating to the businesses if we just say, no, we're against it being a parking lot. So I do think it's one of those things that we can hedge what we're supporting, but we can't say, realistically, we can't say no. So I hope we say yes tonight. Thank you.
Right. Just to be clear, I'm not opposed to the parking lot. I'm just wanting to make sure that, given that there were concerns at the last meeting, that we have notified the neighbors and given a reasonable period of time for someone to respond if they happen to have a concern. And then just on the request that they have for this to be permanent, and I take your point, and I've understood the email traffic on this to make it 5 years as a conditional. Is there any hardship on their side on it being just 5 years?
Well, I think one hardship on the owner's side is that they have to hire Marty Sullivan again to come back to us. I mean, there's that.
Well, but I mean, in terms, they're asking for a permanent exception here for a reason. And I know we want to be mindful of that. I'm just curious, if we say 5 years, that's quite short of permanent, right?
Well, Marty, would you want to address that? Is there a hardship?
Well, I mean, it's obviously it's going in the wrong direction. It's not preferred. It's not what we're hoping for. I mean, I think they would accept 10 happily. Just thought it was worth trying after 70 years of operation. It seems like the premise for cutting the time limit in half seems a little unrelated to the CVS parking lot directly. So that's kind of an issue. Hardship. This isn't the hardest case in the world and the most intensive. So no, I wouldn't say it's a hardship, but I don't, you know, I think that they would, and I don't know, I'd have to ask the owner, but I think they'd say, well, okay, we tried and if we had 10, but I think they'd be kind of shocked that going back to 5 after all this time.
Well, let me say, first of all, Mr. Singh.
It's an expense, we'll say that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, you know, it takes
Mr.
away
Mr. Singh has joined the meeting, so he may want to speak. Let me just say, I think 10 years doesn't do the trick for us. In other words, these changes, the kind of changes where we need to be more efficient with what we've got are likely to occur in a shorter period of time. And to the issue of it, I mean, one of the things about sort of making an example of the CVS parking lot or making it the first of what I would argue we should do with all the parking lots that serve Upper Connecticut Avenue is that it is the most general use one, essentially of all of them. So it's unfortunate that this is the one we cramp down on. So the way I would handle this is simply say in the letter, and I will circulate a draft of it to you if you approve the idea of sending one tonight, is that we would consider longer periods in the future once we have a better sense of what is going to occur, particularly with the Connecticut Avenue bike lane issue. And that should be something we know in the 5-year period. So we would offer the opportunity for some relief further down the road. Mr. Singh, are you on? And if you are, let me promote you to a, oh, do I have to go get him a co-host?
You might just want to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Singh, you can go ahead.
Hello, how you doing, everybody, this evening?
Yes.
Are you hearing me? Because I'm joining this from my phone, and I hope everything is working fine. You guys are able to hear me and able to see me?
Yep, we can hear you and see you fine.
Okay. Very good. So since we already talking about the parking lot thing behind the CVS, and we would like to request you guys to approve our application so we can have that parking lot get renewed. But we are also looking for if you guys waive us this thing, like every 10 years we have to come back and do all this work again and again. But anyway, in neighborhood, as everybody know, we need that parking lot, and we working hard to keep that parking lot clean, nice, and I would say like no issues over there, not any kind of issue we were have like in the past. So I would like to request you guys, please approve our application and consider if we can not have to renew every 10 years. So which will be for all the time. That's what I want to say.
Thank you. I understand what Mr. Singh is saying, and I do appreciate that this is something of a hardship in the short term for the owners, but I do think that we have an interest in flexibility that allows us to best serve the community and to be able to initiate conversations with the parking lot owners of all the lots. I'll be coming back to this commission. There are several of these special exceptions that have lapsed by a number of years, including the PNC Bank one, and I'm going to make the same proposal with regard to them, that they should get a special exception, that we should support it, but that we should support it for a short period of time, 5 years, until we know what changes are occurring here. So unless there's further Commissioner Lynch has his hand up.
Thank you, Commissioner Goslin. So my sense of the parking lot right now is that if you wanted to say go to Little Beast and parked in the CVS parking lot, that CVS isn't tracking who is going where after you park in the parking lot. And I think your concern, as I'm hearing it, comes about with the idea of bike lanes coming into being and more parking would need to happen in these parking lots. But right now, it seems to me that anybody can park in those parking lots as is. What difference are you seeing happen to these parking lots in the future in these 5-year increments?
Well, the idea, I gave you an example in an email exchange with you. Let's say the bike lanes go in and the bike lanes go in all the way up to the Chevy Stage Circle, and we lose a lot of parking on, we lose some parking. There's a debate about how much on Connecticut Avenue. We know all you need to do is go on a Saturday morning to CVS, and we know that parking lots parking spaces are at a premium. One thing we could do about that is we could, by limiting the time these exemptions operate, start conversations as they come up for renewal with all the parking lot owners about agreeing to install a system. And I think we'd have to find a way to raise public money to do this. I'm not proposing that we put this vast new cost on individuals, but have a system that applied to all of the parking lots and showed people driving to our commercial district where they could find where empty spaces are. You see this kind of system in airport parking lots where spaces are at a premium and they end up tending to be further up parking garage buildings. And this is a way we could use less land for parking and use it more efficiently. I just use it not as the solution, but as an example of why we want to be able to have parking lot owners come back to us and thus start a conversation that allows us to implement a solution such as that.
If parking was strained with bike lanes, wouldn't it also behoove the businesses and the owners of the parking lot to move people quickly through the parking lot in this situation that you're foreseeing without ANC help?
I'm not sure what you have in mind. I mean, the problem we have right now, Peter, is that many of the lots in this area are basically hived off and not available to everybody. So, for example, I mean, let's say a system such as the one I described, we can find public money for it, and now we have the challenge of convincing owners to allow it to be installed. So I'm not talking about their bearing vast expense, but they have to allow it to be installed. And lo and behold, 11 o'clock Saturday morning rolls around and every space is taken in the CVS lot. So if we had such a system in place, people could see that, there are spaces open over in the PNC lot. The owners of the CVS lot are not going to have crossing guards stand there and say, wave them on to PNC, but such a system, and again, just as an example of the sort of thing we might want to do and might want to have leverage to convince owners to do, such a system would increase the efficiency of use of parking spaces.
Has DDOT or the city implemented something in private parking lots like this before?
Peter, I do not have a solution, and I don't have a program in mind. I'm not saying there's any money for this yet. I do know that a great deal is likely to change in the coming 5 years. And I'm arguing that flexibility, giving this commission flexibility to deal with that, is a smart idea.
Right.
Okay.
So just to summarize, you're arguing for flexibility. You're not advancing a particular scheme of parking that we're somehow passing judgment on tonight. But just back to the applicants here in terms of the 5 year, is there anything else they'd want to tell us about what that would mean for them before we go ahead and vote on this?
Let me just, before you do, Marty, just so you have everything on the table, Corinthia Simmons has her hand up. So do you want to speak?
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to, I know that Peter Gosselin just mentioned that he had a suggestion for implementing some type of parking system, but I also would like to say, if we're only considering advancing this for five years, there's also the opportunity to develop the land for parking and affordable housing. I know that we talk about other areas to put affordable housing instead of at the community center and library, but just wanted to let people know that, those lots could be developed for parking and housing. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, did we want Marty to address that?
Well, Mr. Singh came in the conversation a bit late. I'm not sure he's fully aware of the 5-year proposal. So I think we should make sure he's clear on that.
Mr. Singh, I know this is not going to be happy news for you, but I'm proposing instead of an indefinite extension or even a 10-year extension, for this round, we make it 5 years. And as the other lots come up, we do the same for them. And the reason is the one I've just given, which is that there's going to be a lot changing. Now, do you want to make some final comment about that before we vote?
I can only request to the everybody over there who are going to decide what we have to do, we should at least keep that 10 years renewal instead of we going back to 5 years. And also whatever they want us to do, like to maintain that parking lot, let us know, we can do that, and which make the neighborhood happy, everybody happy over there. And we're trying our best already to keep everything up to date in that parking lot, and requesting, like we have a couple of restaurants who are also participating in our parking lot. Like they are requesting every time to give the 90 minutes parking time over there, but to make sure other people also have parking, we can just have them park for 60 minutes. And like Little Beast, we just spoken about them. Their customers, they come and park. We didn't chase them and told them go out, or even they are not participating in our parking lot over there, and they are not part of the parking lot. So we are trying to keep everybody like happy in that neighborhood, and people are really happy, and every business needs those parking lots all the time. That's what I want to say that. And we are also want to do something like whatever the association want change in the parking lots, but definitely I would request keep it at least 10 years renewal instead of going 5 years. And that's all. Also, I want to request that. That's all.
Commissioner.
Sure. I just want to note, I wasn't, I had a pre-existing family obligation for the March 4th meeting, so I missed that conversation on CVS earlier. I just got access last evening to the meeting video. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm a little behind. I've been trying to follow along on email, but I'll be abstaining for that reason because I'm still catching up. But I am mindful, we talk about things, but really, ANC's, we advise the DC government. So I think it's great to have a dialogue with property owners, businesses, but ultimately we're elected to advise the DC agencies for what they do. So I kind of keep that in mind, given we're 7 volunteers, and that's all I have, but mostly want to explain my abstention.
Okay, I suggest let me just say to Mr. Singh, I'm sorry for this. I don't think 10 years is much help. In other words, we will be, if there's stuff that we need to respond to, it's likely to be in the next 5 years. So if we have to wait another 5 years to come back to you, I think that this round, we need to have a limited, at least our approval for the special exception, our support for the special exception should be limited to 5 years. With that, I think we need to move to a vote. So I just ask, do you want me to run the vote?
Yeah, you can.
All in favor of authorizing me to write?
You have a motion on the table?
motion?
Yeah, I've had a motion, you seconded it.
Okay.
Which is that I'm authorized to write a letter saying the ANC approves, supports the application for a special exception to the BZA, but for only 5 years. And that we note that all abutting property owners within 200 feet need to be notified of the upcoming BZA hearing and their concerns about the operation of the lot be addressed. All in favor?
Hey, Peter, this is Michael. I just had one comment before we vote on this, if possible.
Wait 1 second.
Hang on, commissioners.
Michael, go ahead. Michael, go ahead.
So 2 quick things. In the letter, one, I want to make sure that we reiterate the point that I made last meeting, which was that this parking lot be used for customers and not for staff. I talked about the truck parking and that this is not for employees or owners of those businesses, because there's so few spots. And that second, I want to make clear that we are doing it on a one-time basis so that we can work in a coordinated way with all of the other parking lots so that we can make sure that there's the most comprehensive and
Yes.
Appropriate multi-parking lot plan for our community.
Michael, I absolutely, I will be, I'm the one who keeps talking about this multi-parking lot plan. So you bet you
Yeah.
that's going to be in the letter. I
Okay.
actually have a problem with telling owners that they can't have their employees park there. So for example, in the adjacent piece of parking lot behind Child's Play, basically that serves child play employees for their parking, because otherwise they're going to have to keep, as the manager has told me very recently, they would have to keep running out the door and feeding the meters. So I don't see why we would add that provision, but surely the second point you make is one I've been trying to make for 2 meetings. So that'll be in the letter.
I want to say something here in between, if you guys don't mind. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, we are talking about the employees and owners are not supposed to park in the parking lot. This rule we already have in place. We don't let any employee or owner park in the parking lot. And this personally, I go checked out. Sometimes we only have 3 permanent parkings for the CVS, only for the guys who work in the pharmacy. Otherwise, we don't have any employee park in the parking lot, and we check whole day. If somebody park, we go there, we ask them to move their car all the times or get ticketed. So this rule is already there. We are very strict on that.
Great, thank you.
I have one question, Pete. I didn't hear you say, are you going to add to the letter the concern about snow and ice removal? You will, okay.
With that, can we vote?
Yeah.
All in favor?
So I can't be seen. So this is Michael. I'm voting in favor.
Okay, good. Opposed?
Yeah, you got it. Okay.
One opposed and you're abstaining, right? So it's
Call for
5.
the abstention.
What?
Call for the abstention.
Abstentions.
1, okay.
So you have Lynch opposed, Ferguson abstain, 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioner Nash, I'm gonna turn it over to you for the ANC discussion and possible vote on the Transportation Committee.
Right. Well, what we have now is work in progress. By the next meeting, I will have a resolution with parts of the charter in there for the purpose of the committee and so on. So in a week, you all will see that. We do have a chair and 2 co-chairs, which if need be, we could vote on tonight. I've spoken with the 2 co-chairs and I've spoken with myself. And so we're all fine with doing that. Membership in the committee is still not certain. We've only had 1 unofficial meeting. So I think that's all I have to say on this right now.
Who's the 2 co-chairs?
We have Michaela Platts.
Yeah, Platzer.
And Cal Simone are the 2 co-chairs. And then I would chair it.
So do you want us to take a vote on the co-chair and chair?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know how the procedure works.
Yeah, I think
but
we
that,
need them designated, appointed
okay,
before you guys like get too deep.
okay,
So it's official who it is. So I would say so.
okay. So then I need to make a motion to that effect. Okay. And then it'll be a resolution. I should write up a resolution or do we need that? We don't need that.
As long as we got the motion designated,
Okay.
then it's
Okay, so I
it should be
move
okay.
I move that the ANC 34G nominate Commissioner Nash to chair Cal Simone and Michaela Platts to co-chair the ANC 34G Transportation Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
And this is, Nash will be chair of this thing in perpetuity, right? We're gonna put that in there?
No.
No.
No. No, this only,
Talk about punishment.
all
No.
these committees only last till the next election, I believe.
1 year, 1 year. Yeah.
Oh, just 1 year? Well, it's the next one. Yeah, so till at least till November, I guess.
Any other discussion, commissioners?
Yeah, so I can't vote for this tonight since I haven't seen the charter. I'm keen to know what the charter is before I vote on establishing a committee. And want to also propose that when we do our admin meeting, that we take stock of our current committees in light of our other workloads that we have and the issues before us, to understand how we're allocating our resources, how we're setting priorities, how we're addressing critical issues. So I think it's just a bit premature. The other thing I think we want to think about is membership on committees when a person sits on 2 committees. I think we're interested in having as many community members as possible participate in these committees. Want to broaden the franchise, get people involved. And so I have reservations right now about the Transportation Committee, given that I haven't seen a charter, and also about our committees generally. I just want to check in with us in our admin meeting about how we all think they're working, and are we accomplishing what we want currently with the committees we have.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioners?
Lisa, in light of Bruce's intervention, what we're doing now is we're saying we're establishing a committee with the chair and co-chairs, mandate to be determined and voted on. Is that how it's proceeding?
Correct. Yeah, and I don't have any hesitancy on this. Commissioner Nash did share the charter, I believe when did you share? Has the charter been
Well,
shared?
I just sent the charter to you. I don't think I sent it to other commissioners.
So,
But because it's still, we're still, I put it up on Google Docs. I'm still taking edits on it. And so I'm going to have it for you a week before our next meeting, which would be a week from tonight. And so if you all want to wait until the next meeting, that's when I thought we would do all this. But if you want to chair now, we can do that too, whatever you all want.
my thought is that the chairs and co-chairs need to work on the charter. And you guys need to kind of establish, the ANC has talked about a transportation committee for 3 years. And transportation infrastructure is one of the most pressing issues in this community. Most of our issues that come from the community have involved transportation. Housing, I would say, is a close second, just since we've been in the Civic Core. But this is something that we've been trying to establish as an ANC for a while. In terms of the other committees, and, we can obviously discuss them. One of them, I'm really heavily involved in Racial and Social Equity Standing Committee, which is RACE. And I can tell you that it's one of the best committees of this ANC. It is absolutely meeting its mission. And we meet every month, and RACE Committee is extremely involved. Same thing with Murray Task Force. They're definitely a top competitor. And they meet regularly. They're, I think, accomplishing their mission as well. And I know ZDD is trying to get back up and running. I think the committees, and once we find that, and that's one of the things that the ANC did in terms of refining the outline of the committee function in its bylaws. Once committees kind of serve their purpose and go defunct, then as an ANC, we have an opportunity to, disband that committee. And go on to something else. But if we have commissioners that are willing to take on the work of the committee, then I think, we give them the rein. We've also got a lot of folks that Jim has identified in the community that want to participate. It's actually a really good broad range of people. So I would recommend that the ANC go on and get the chairs and co-chairs appointed. Let them bring the charter back to us as a group and as leads on this. and then get the rest of the committee members working, because we have people in the community that are ready to get this going. That would be my suggestion. Any other comments, commissioners? Okay, you want to call for the vote?
Okay. Yeah, so can we have a vote on the motion that's before us, please?
Commissioners, all those in favor, raise your hand.
And I am joining in favor, Lisa.
Okay. Hang on, Commissioner, sorry. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those commissioners that oppose, raise your hand. 1. All those abstentions, 1. Okay, thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next, we turn this over to Commissioner Zeldin. The discussion and possible vote on a DC public school budget document. So the budget letter that you wrote.
Yep. So following on work that Peter Lynch started, and I have drafted a letter that was circulated that essentially says to the relevant city officials that we strongly oppose cuts to Lafayette and the feeder network of schools. We cite the reasons that are obvious, that education is the linchpin of our democracy, and that the process by which the allocation of funds for our schools doesn't seem to be working very well, and that we implore the city to reinstate the budget at least equal to last fiscal year's last school year's budget, and to work with us to ensure that our children are properly educated. That's what the gist of it is.
Commissioners, did y'all have any questions on the budget letter that Commissioner Zeldin wrote? Everybody get a chance to read it?
I haven't had a chance to read it. Did Commissioner Zeldin send it around?
I did.
Oh, yeah,
He did?
yeah,
I apologize. I missed it entirely. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
okay.
Yeah. In fact, I was looking for it. In fact, I sent an email to Commissioners Gore and Zeldin asking what we were going to be addressing regarding this issue. And I guess I just missed if there was a response.
Okay. Commissioner
Well,
Lynch?
let me just say, if people haven't seen it, if it didn't get circulated as I think it did, or at least should have, I'm happy to delay this for people to vote. The essence of it, though, Bruce, is that which Peter wrote, I think, with Cindy and some others. I just put it more in, his was, for my writing style, more colloquial, and I wrote it more sort of officially, sort of as an ANC, in what I thought was more ANC-ish language, but the concepts remain pretty consistent.
I'm looking at my email. I don't see it. It may have gotten lost in cyberspace somewhere, but I appreciate the effort. I think it's very important. I commend you for it. Again, I just haven't seen it.
I'm sorry for that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
if there's and there might have been a mix up. I thought it was sent out as well. Michael, do you mind putting this on the agenda for the next meeting?
That's perfectly fine.
Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I
we'll get it
also,
recirculated.
I also didn't see it, by the way.
Okay, then there's
Okay.
then there was a slip between the brim and the lip, as they say in Gilbert and Sullivan, and so we'll send it again.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lynch, we're gonna hold it over, but if you want to say something, go on.
Yeah, thanks for taking this up, Commissioner Zeldin. I remember there was a letter that you sent when we were thinking about getting the all citywide ANC sign-on letter going.
That was it.
And then you sort of edited that and sent one back. Is that the one you're you're
Yeah.
talking about right now?
Yeah.
That's essentially it. So what I'm saying, Peter, is that you wrote this letter, or people, there was a collection of people who wrote this letter. I thought that I didn't disagree with the objectives of the letter. I just thought stylistically, we as an ANC could write it more sort of in ANC-like language. So I edited your letter saying, I can't sign on to this letter as written, but here is my rewrite of it in sort of official-ish ease. Maybe that's presumptuous on my part, but that if people are okay with these edits, I said that it's not too late. We can send this as a modified version of it, or we could circulate it separately. So I think that's what I'm talking about went around. Peter, you got it, right?
I remember it. I also remember thinking that the asks on that letter were asking the city to come before the ANC and explain why they were giving these budget cuts. Whereas,
yes, so what I said is these budget cuts are not acceptable, and come forward and explain to us why you think they are.
So if we plan to take this up at the next meeting, I'd love to work with you on this, but I would also encourage maybe stronger asks that don't just say, hey, come tell us why you're cutting the budget, and giving them cover to come and meet with us and say, oh, it's a really tough budget season. We've just got to make some tough decisions, and here it is.
No, but I guess, and we can take it up at the next meeting, but my point in doing that was exactly to have that conversation. If they say, for example, we need to cut budget here because we have a budget shortfall, I want to be able to say, what cuts have you made to the superstructure in the Office of Education or where else, which are, in my mind, always administratively bloated. So I want them to explain that to us, because my view of education generally is that there are way more administrators than there are needs for administrators, and I want them to come forward and talk about that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm all for them explaining that, and I think you're hitting on an important point with administrator costs and central office costs. I just think that we could go further in saying cuts to staff, teachers, schools, programs that impact kids are a non-starter that we won't accept, and that they need to be funded appropriately, as opposed to saying, please come have a conversation with us about the cuts that you are proposing.
Okay, well, I'll go find this letter, I'll recirculate it, and then we can all collectively, because we all have kids in our SMDs, and massage the language in a way that we'll find consensus.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Corinthia, did you have a question on this?
Hi, yes. I just wanted to comment. I just want to remind everyone that one of the reasons why there may be a budget cut due to COVID monies from the federal government. And secondly, I just want to make sure that when you guys are addressing the letter, that you be a little bit more cognizant of DC-wide versus just the Lafayette feeder. My son attends Lafayette. He attended another DCPS school last year. And when we're talking about comparison and cuts, I think a Lafayette, of course, no school wants to have cuts to their budget, but some schools are able to sustain while others are not. So I just would like to encourage you all in that letter to emphasize DC-wide versus just Lafayette, because when we think about equity, I think it's a little bit selfish to think that our ANC, should not have budget cuts when we compare other Ward 4, Ward 5, Ward 6, 7, and 8 schools, because those schools may not be able to repair or fully meet the needs of their students in comparison to our students. And I also think, another complaint we have is like the schools being overcrowded, and the schools are overcrowded here because this ANC And this ward has more resources. So families are moving here because there are more resources. So I just want to make sure you all are cognizant of that and that you're thinking about DCPS as a whole versus just this feeder.
Yeah, and
Thank
so
you.
in respect of that, my view as a commissioner has been, all along that I took an oath of office to make decisions in the best interest of the city as a whole, as my oath requires, taking effect broadly, but being mindful of specific ANC 3G needs. And I thought in my letter, again, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I thought I did, but I don't. We talk about our ANC and our school system in the broader context, but I'll make sure that that's there because the point is well taken.
And Corinthia, I'd like to add on to that too. We had signers from all 8 wards on that initial letter, and it's actually a really great opportunity because these cuts are happening, as you said, to schools across the city. But it's a great opportunity to connect with other parents and other families and teachers in other schools to raise awareness around this, because you're absolutely right. It's happening in every ward, every school in the city. And yeah, it's a great point.
Let me just add on to that one of the things, Corinthia, as co-chair of RACE, that you might want to do is look back at the former education committee recommendations and see how we could weave that into the letter. If you find something that's relevant, because I know one of the things that was brought up was something you said in terms of how certain school systems, or not school systems, but schools can sustain better than others. I know that was a aspect of the RACE recommendations regarding education. So if you find something that maybe you and Libby want to add, send that to Michael, and we can contemplate adding that in there as well.
I would encourage everybody
Okay.
also to, sorry, Corinthia. I would encourage everybody also to look at the recommendations that are coming out of the boundary and student assignment study that's going on right now, that's being undertaken by the Deputy Mayor for Education. We had a consultant, a member of the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Education here in January talking about that study. To your point, Corinthia, about Lafayette and the resources Lafayette has as compared to other schools, it is being identified as a school to take a significant number of additional at-risk out-of-boundary students for what would be the 25-26 school year.
I think we need to get that in writing because I don't think it's out of bound for, if you remember at the last ANC, they said they were going to take at risk from our current boundary. They didn't have an answer on if it would be out of bound students. So did they come back to the ANC with the results from that? Because I am following that boundary study as well. And there's no significant changes to our feeder pattern.
Right. So I've just taken a look at the recommendations. I've looked at the PowerPoint. I've looked at the final recommendations that went to the advisory committee that the Deputy Mayor for Education's office had set up, with particular interest, of course, in Lafayette and Deal and Jackson Reed, because those are the schools that most of our kids here go to, but also looking across the system to see what the equity factors are and how they were going to honor those, because achieving greater equity across the schools was one of the 3 driving goals of the whole study. So it is in fact going to be for out-of-boundary students, except for pre-K. Pre-K would not be out-of-boundary students at risk in boundary within the school district. But in terms of beyond kindergarten, it would be out-of-boundary students. And that PowerPoint and the presentation is up at the, again, Deputy Mayor for Education. It's the school boundary and student assignment study. Final recommendations are due to Mayor Bowser by the end of this month, but they're pretty much done now. It's fairly certain what's going to happen, and Lafayette is going to have a significant number of additional at-risk, out-of-boundary students.
Okay. Thank you all. That was a great discussion, and we'll hold this over until the next meeting. So we'll move on to discussion and possible vote on our performance oversight testimony.
Can we do the historic windows?
Oh, you want to do that now?
Yeah,
Sure.
I know we
Go
got
on.
Carl's here, and So I'm going to introduce this. This has been led by our Racial and Social Equity Committee. It is, I think, maybe inspired by recently Friendship Heights Alliance had a successful partnership where they have these window displays that show local history. And there it's the Broad Branch Belmont exhibit. But here, and we've got Carl Lankowski who's been taking the lead on it. But the idea is in the coming months, the ANC and the RACE Committee could partner with a local business and the historic Chevy Chase DC and Chevy Chase Main Street, and they could display the history of our community dating back to colonial times to today through a window display. I think particularly telling the, possibly the using the Pointer family is a great example of telling that story. So we have Carl here to answer any questions. I emailed all the commissioners on March 5th about this with the PowerPoint. So what I have in mind for right now is answer questions, talk about it, but this is early. And I think what would be helpful now to the committee would be if we could vote on approving a formal letter where the ANC is telling local businesses, we encourage you to participate in this, and the ANC is, a partner, and that would help them, get a local business on board to know that the ANC is behind it. And I'm the treasurer, so I'm always interested in costs. And right now it's very early, but maybe around $3,000 or $4,000 is what we've heard for this. And I'll remind everyone, we have about $45,000 sitting in our bank account. We have, I think, plenty of money. So I strongly think it'd be a great use of our money. This is, I think, a textbook example of a public benefit. It would be local history, beneficial to everyone. So I'll leave it open for questions, and we've got Carl here if anyone wants to hear straight from him.
What would the $3,000 to $4,000 pay for, Zach?
I would imagine the printing of the display, the art, promotion. Am I missing anything? Technical stuff, yeah.
Elizabeth Vaden in Peter Gosselin's SMD. I just wanted to say, I think this is a terrific idea. I've watched the work that they've been doing funded by the Friendship Heights Alliance on both the Reno community and the Black Broad Branch community. And it's been a terrific opportunity to bring the community out and start talking about these issues. I was also going to add that as this ANC is aware, there is a group that has come together in this community to bring an exhibit called Undesign the Red Line to Upper Northwest that will be opening on April 11th and running through July 11th, hosted at the Cleveland Park Library. And there may be some opportunities to build on that as well, that might complement the kind of work that you're looking at doing. But bravo, I think this sounds great.
Thank you.
I'll add one more for process. I think the idea would be we'd find the RACE committee would find a local business, and then later when they get further in the process, they would come back to a full presentation. We'd have a PowerPoint. They would really explain it in detail. We'd have Carl or someone, they would be explaining it in greater detail. So we come back for discussion and voting on the specific costs. But this, at this point, would just be a letter of support.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay. You want to move the motion?
Sure. I move that the ANC writes a letter of support for this project. Any seconds?
Commissioners, all those in favor, raise your hand.
I'm voting in favor.
Okay, that's 2 online. That's 7-0. Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Okay. Discussion and possible vote on performance oversight testimony. So we have 3 agencies that we were trying to work on. I'm not sure which group got testimony written. DMPED, myself and Gosselin, DCPS, and DOEE. Did anyone have an opportunity to write testimony?
On my testimony, there's still a couple of items that I have to take into account, including what's going to happen on Wednesday night at Lafayette Elementary. So I just want to be informed by what's going to be proposed there before going out with testimony that might be OBE.
Okay. And I know we didn't get ours finished. DCPS, Commissioner Lynch, did you get testimony written on yours?
I submitted the letter that was passed around to the city and neighbors as itself, the letter. But no one responded in terms of how we as a commission would want to address DCPS in that testimony.
So that's a little different than performance oversight testimony from the commission. So yeah, I mean, a personal letter to you that you wrote and got sign off on from various folks in the community is one thing. Performance oversight testimony for the commission is a lot more detailed. So I guess we will say that we don't have testimony for that. Peter, do we know when the record closes? I think the record is probably closed for all this stuff because they've already announced the schedule for budget oversight.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
So this is also where communication would be, really helpful, because on several occasions you've delegated Commissioner Zeldin to do the DCPS stuff, even though I'd written that letter. So it is unfortunate that we don't have testimony as a group, but there's been no replies on the emails, and each time DCPS has come up, you've said because Lafayette's in Zeldin's district that it will be his. So it is unfortunate.
So let me just add this. We talked about this during the last meeting. Commissioner Zeldin is working on something different. Performance oversight testimony, we've discussed multiple times. If we don't have it, we don't have it. But I don't think there was any confusion on who was doing what. But
there was never any communication about it. That's
with that being said, okay. With that being said, you want to move on to, I think we should focus on budget oversight because we've missed it. Now, let me just say this and make this clear. Budget oversight testimony is just as detailed as performance oversight testimony. We have a lot of great examples from the ANC in our document section of what that budget oversight testimony looks like. We're actually asking for budget items. Like in the past, we've asked for sufficient budget for the Civic Core. It's very specific testimony. And we try to tie a dollar figure to an agency as much as possible. So if you guys remember last year, we didn't have individual budget oversight testimony for individual agencies. So in lieu of that, I wrote a budget testimony letter. And I would definitely reference that, go back and reference that, because we did as a commission come up with probably 10 or so agencies that we said we needed, budget information for. One of the things that we added, as you might recall, is additional officer for MPD on Connecticut Avenue. We talked about additional money for DDOT for transportation infrastructure, which would be good for your committee to look at. We talked about water retention issues over here off of Aberfoyle. I think that was DC Water and DOEE maybe. So we've done this before. And what we're going to have to do, and me and Commissioner Gosselin will send you all the agency schedule for budget oversight, but let's just start thinking about which agencies we need that for. And I'll recirculate that old budget letter, dust that off, and I'll recirculate. I think one of the ones that's going to be really important is Civic Core, to make sure we got good budget ask in there. So we'll recirculate those. I think we've been doing DMPED, Civic Core budget oversight ask for about two commissions at least.
DER, DCPL.
Right. And then I would add to that, we haven't missed the boat on DC Public Schools, because one of the things we're asking for is that money and for their budget not to be cut. So having that ask in the budget oversight hearing is going to be really critical. So performance oversight is one thing and budget oversight is another. We haven't missed it. So if you guys want, whoever wants to volunteer, step up. That's all I'm going to ask. And I will take your name and put you on the agenda. But we will need to start working on that testimony right away because I believe the hearings start in March. So just feel free, send us an email. We'll send draft the email to the commissioners and then you guys, let us know which ones you want to take on.
Can I ask a question in terms of how you've approached this in the
Sure.
past? Obviously, DC is facing a very significant budget shortfall overall this
Yep.
year.
Yep.
And so we are mindful of that as we look at any particular aspect of the budget. I know in my district, the cuts that are being proposed at Lafayette are a major issue of concern to people, taking into account what we've already talked about, which is that there are resource limitations across DCPS. But nonetheless, parents, in fact, I got a letter, an email today from a constituent who just wrote to Mayor Bowser, arguing very strongly to reinstate funds cut from Lafayette's budget. So the DCPS budget concern of families in my district is something that's very much on my mind. Constituents are writing to me about it. I would, of course, be interested, but I know that other commissioners, Zeldin and Lynch, are obviously very interested in it as well. So I'm happy to contribute on that, just to let you know.
Sure.
And with respect, though, to looking at any part of the budget, I'm just, again, mindful of the entirety of it and how we think about that.
Absolutely. And that's something that we got to noodle through. So the sooner we can get, these testimonies, and you can go back and look at our testimonies, they're pretty intense. They're not lightweight documents.
Right.
But definitely, if a commissioner wants to take it on, and Lafayette, I do think it's different because it is in Zeldin's district.
Right.
But
Can I just, Lisa, can I interrupt? Look, anyone who wants to write about Lafayette, not about Lafayette, but write about public school oversight testimony is welcome to do that. I just want to be involved in it. But the point is,
right,
in the testimonies that I've written in the past, it was not generally how are our schools doing.
Right.
That wasn't our mandate. And budget is, as you said, Lisa, budget. But when the specific testimony I've written in the past was like related to the military road school, the effort to move the preschool cohort to military road. So we wrote specifically about issues, but not broadly about how are our schools doing.
Right.
And that's because that's how we viewed, historically, that's how we viewed that type of testimony. Here is an issue that we want, answered. How did you come to decide to move the whole pre-K to military road without telling anybody about it? That was the nature of that testimony, not how are you spending your money or how are you prioritizing the spending of money. That's within budget. So if anyone who wants to write for budget about the school funding, that I don't view that as being in my purview, nor do I believe it ever was to be exclusively me. I just wanted to say, because Lafayette is in my SMD, just keep me in the loop. If someone wants to take the lead, that's fine. But these are complicated issues around which specific testimony has always been more helpful than generally children are our future type of testimonies.
Right.
Exactly.
Can I add an element to this, which is that I think many of you might be aware that Dr. Brocard at Lafayette encouraged her families to be in touch with council members and commissioners about their budget situation. So she had, please reach out. And so a number of them did to me. And that led to the call that I did that all of you know about last Tuesday, community Zoom call, just offering an opportunity for members of my district to come and express their concerns. And Will Perkins from Councilmember Louis George's office was on the call. And he actually conducted what amounted to a DCPS and even larger DC government budget tutorial on how the whole thing works, because so many folks just don't even know how the budgeting process functions. They're completely in the dark about how could we have gotten in this situation where Lafayette's facing a 24% budget shortfall? And how does that happen from year to year, right?
Right. And,
Yeah.
right. And Bruce, to that exact point, that is appropriate from my standpoint. That is appropriate for anyone in the commission who wants to take the lead on to address in budget oversight testimony, but not necessarily school performance oversight.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, no, but but the point is, it is a budget thing now, and parents are asking what they can do and how they also need to be informed, because again, they just don't understand the process. So we could play, I think, a large role, the commission, reaching out to the entire ANC on this question of DCPS for sure, but the larger budget issues by way of informing and educating people about how it all works.
Yeah.
It's a mystery to most people.
Yep. Okay. All right, so look out for those emails, commissioners, and those documents. That's great, though. Anything else on this topic?
Let me just say, I volunteer for DPR. We have and to Bruce's point, how do we take into account the really substantial budget shortfall the city is going to face? I mean, I think in testimony like this, we simply have to ask for money, adequate money for this community center, and we have a lot of history of asking for money for a new community center, and I think we need to review that. And prior promises that were made of money, now, of course, the city will put it in the broader context of, missing $600 to $800 million and whatever the shortfall is going to be.
Okay, thank you. So we are at commissioner and community announcements. Do we have any announcements from any commissioners? I do got one announcement, and I'm sorry I don't have this info. Come on up. I saw you starting to rise. One announcement, DC Water, there was an email, and I'm so sorry I don't have this organized, but you know what? I will put it on the ANC website tonight under what's new. There are going to be some community meetings regarding rate increases for, I believe it was DC Water. And I just want to make sure folks are aware of that, because they're having open meetings to discuss that, especially if you have seniors that you're helping to caretake for, or, if you're a senior yourself, these rate increases add up. And it's a good opportunity to go out and advocate for them. Commissioner, or advocate for or against, let me just say that. Commissioner Lynch.
Thank you. Tomorrow at 7:00, Councilmember Fruman is going to be speaking with the Ward 3 Education Network. It's on Zoom, and I don't know how I would send the link right now, but if you look up Ward 3 EdNet, it's also on a lot of the listservs people have been making announcements on. But that should be a really good conversation. Those people are super plugged in to education issues, and Fruman is going to certainly, I imagine, be addressing the budget issues there as well. So 7:00 tomorrow with Fruman, the Ward 3 EdNet.
Thank you.
And before Matthew goes, there's the announcement. I just alluded to it, but I just want to make it very clear. Wednesday, 6:00, Lafayette Elementary School, Department of General Services, Department of Parks and Recreation will be, and you're probably going to tag this now as well. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
You can go.
Matthew.
You got it.
Now, well, just to finish the thought, it's going to be on the renovation of the ball field, the lower field, the baseball field, and what the district is proposing in that regard.
Yeah.
Which we passed a resolution on just 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce, to that end, let me just say one thing. I have asked a number of times for them to put that meeting on Zoom so that people who have families who can't attend during the dinner hour be able to participate in it, since they're the greatest stakeholder community. And I have not gotten them to do that, which is to me a great loss of opportunity.
Noted.
So right now you still have to be in person, which to me I think is inexcusable.
Thank you, Michael.
Don't take it personally, Matthew.
I don't. I second Bruce's announcement that there will be a water runoff and field project meeting Wednesday, 6 o'clock at the Lafayette School.
That's what I'm referring to.
Yes,
That
yes, yes,
one.
yes, yes.
That should be Zoom enabled.
I will see if that can be done.
Thank you.
Um,
I've asked Tommy 3 times about it, but no success.
okay. Okay. I'll get back to you. Continuing with my announcements. March 8th, so this week, Mayor Bowser cut the ribbon on the Clara, which is a new 100% affordable housing complex and mixed-use development in Ward 8. So good things happening with affordable housing in the district. This week as well, Mayor Bowser delivered remarks at the opening of Artomatic 2024, which is an art exhibit and installation that is taking a old apartment complex that will be turned into housing at some point this year, and they're using it as an art installation, and it's really cool, and I encourage you to go. And you can learn more at artomatic.org. It's 2100 M Street Northwest.
Could you speak a little more slowly and distinctly? I'm all of 10 feet from you and I can't understand you, so now I'm deaf.
Also, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Matthew Barclay. I'm your Ward 3 Mokers for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. My number is 202-340-7853, matthew.barclay@dc.gov. Next. This week, Mayor Bowser also announced plans to bring a new freestanding emergency department to the Fletcher Johnson campus in Ward 7. So good things for health equity in the district this week. As also today, Mayor Bowser signed the Secure DC bill that was sent over by council. She had the following to say. Passing and implementing Secure DC is a critical step in the work to build a safer DC by rebalancing our public safety and justice ecosystem in favor of safety and accountability. Today, I'm grateful for all the people who made their voices heard and demanded action. I am grateful for the leadership of Councilmember Pinto and all the council members who listened to the concerns of our community and voted in support of common sense legislation that recognizes the importance of accountability in our ecosystem. So that's also a positive. Also this week, Mayor Bowser will host March Madness 2024. This is the district's annual economic development showcase. Local businesses and DC officials and industry leaders will be there to discuss the district's economic development opportunities and our strategy to attract more business to the district. You can go to obviously.dc.com/March 13th. Also, a little crime report update. The district is seeing some positive trends in the right direction when it comes to crime trends. Violent crime, property crime, total crime are down 12% this year compared to last year, and homicides are down 32%. I think there's one more thing. Yes. This Saturday, March 16th, is the last quarterly drop-off date for e-waste items at the RFK Stadium for DPW. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other community announcements? Elias?
Hello, everyone. This is Elias Benda with Councilmember Fruman's office. Just a couple quick updates. As you're all discussing budget oversight, performance oversight ended last week, and we're entering budget oversight the week after next. Councilmember Fruman published his budget letter to the mayor. You can check that on our website, and we'll receive the budget on March 20th. Additionally, we have the workday in the ward where our office comes to you on Thursday, March 28th at Compass Coffee in Spring Valley. We've previously come to Chevy Chase, and we will be back soon. That runs from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The council member will be there 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Again, Councilmember Fruman had sent a letter to Mayor Bowser requesting an updated version of the Connecticut Avenue Multimodal Safety Improvement Project plans. And as Matthew said, we were grateful to vote on and pass the Secure DC Omnibus Amendment Act of 2024. I'll put my information in the chat if anybody wants to reach out, and thank you so much.
Thank
Elias,
you.
this is Michael Zeldin. Can you reach out to me after the meeting? I have something I want to talk to you. It's not specific to the ANC.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. ANC committee and task force reports. Do anything from any of the committees tonight? Okay. Commission business secretary's report?
Nothing specific from the secretary to report, other than I am sending you in that new format, the summary of our meetings that is pegged by minute to the recordings of the meetings that are up on YouTube, with a full transcript of the meeting also provided on demand for those who wish to look at the transcript of meetings. So we can talk about that. I know you wanted to discuss that at the next admin meeting, if that's meeting with everybody's approval. One thing I would say is feel free to reach out and we can talk about it also offline, and we can sort of accommodate people's interests and needs. The aim of the new format is to So the aim of the new format is to provide people with information they need without spending hours and hours doing copious notes that no one's ever going to read, but to make sure that the community has access to the contents of the meetings, which is why the sections of the meetings are broken out by minute so people can go to the recordings, quickly find what's been discussed and listen to it. My experience has been that most people want to hear exactly what someone has said as opposed to reading a transcript. Transcripts today are aided by AI, which is great. It expedites it, but they're filled with gobbledygook at the same time. So it's a mammoth job to clean them up. So in any event, that's a work in progress. The one thing that I want to come back to before the meeting closes is what I mentioned at the top, which is looking at technical assistance, given that this is a budget item, so we can take that up whenever you'd like, and also our next schedule of meetings in light of a number of things happening by the end of next month that I think we're going to want to dedicate more time to.
Okay. Anything for the
So may I just
wait a minute, hang on, Michael.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question of Bruce and also the community to see if there are people who miss having the minutes done, you know, the old-fashioned traditional way, or if people are more or less content with this, with the way Bruce is doing it. First, I'm asking that of Bruce, but also just out there to the community. Let us hear if this is a concern for you.
So the very first time we did this in the new system, I put them up at the Chevy Chase listserv and asked for comments of anyone who might have comments. I got one response to the posting, but I'm open to however we wish to do it. The most important thing is that you have access to what's here, that you've got access to the recording. You know broadly what's on the recording and what's available to you. But if we need to do more copious renderings of the meetings, that's to meet community needs, that's fine too.
Okay. Commissioner Zeldin?
I just had one question. I don't know, it's not in the announcement category necessarily, but, and I was on the meeting, I joined the meeting late because of, you know, still doing my family stuff. Did we decide what we're doing with respect to the solicitations we're each getting from potential RFP responders?
No.
But you know that I did send everybody the report that I got from the OANC.
Yeah, saying
Yeah,
that we should participate. And I guess what I was wondering, Bruce, was have we talked about it collectively? Do we want to, like I got an email today saying, I'd like to talk to you about, you know, our potential bid. I wanted to know whether we had talked about or whether we should plan to talk about how we want to do that. Do we each want to do it individually? Do we want to do it collectively? Do we want to figure out how they reach out to the community? That process to me still remains a bit opaque.
So let me just share again, for commissioners and for the public, because this came up at the last meeting and I volunteered to contact the Office of the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions and ask them. The issue here is that the request for proposals for the civic site redevelopment specifically mentions that bidders should reach out to ANCs to solicit information, input, get ideas and so forth from the ANCs. We wondered, since many of us had been contacted individually, if that was appropriate, notwithstanding being in the RFP, and how we would go about doing that. So I asked the OANC, Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions, and the answer came back was, reading the RFP as they did, that yes, indeed, we should be open to meeting with them, and that they only advised it not be done individually, simply because of appearances that might come about and so forth and so on. So it falls to us to think about how we would like to do it. I mentioned in my note to everybody that I strongly advocate that we do that and that we do it publicly so that members of the public would also be able to offer thoughts and views. We're a filter, but shouldn't be the only filter. So anyway, that's, I think, something for us to think about in the next month in terms of some type of special meeting where we would make that happen.
Commissioner Gosselin.
Right, and Bruce, I'm sorry, please, just my question was, I know I read your thing and you said we're not supposed to reach out to them back individually, but we're getting individual solicitations. So what I was wondering is, how should we respond to them about that, saying, thank you very, very much for reaching out to us. We'll get back to you on how we collectively want to, or I haven't responded to them at all because I didn't know whether I should even be responding to solicitations individually to say, no, thank you, or to be determined. That's what I was wondering about.
Right. I'll just read to you what I said to someone today who reached out to me. I said, I needed to consult with the OANC for guidance on engaging bidders. We have that guidance now, and we'll be discussing it at tonight's ANC meeting, how we wish to proceed, that we would hope to be in further touch. So I've answered one of the parties who reached out to me individually with that very notice. So it's here for us to decide how we want to do it.
That's why I raised it.
Let me go to Commissioner Gosselin.
So we are discussing this now, right?
No, not really. No.
We're discussing when, to discuss it.
We have a half hour into the meeting left, and this is a topic that we need to set, agenda time for. I mean, at this point, if anyone gets look, folks, it is what it is. We have a right to talk to the developers. The developers have a right to contact us. It's going to be up to the individual commissioners whether or not they want to do that. Some commissioners, and Michael, you might have missed it in the beginning, have already talked to development teams. Going forward, I would suggest, and I think Commissioner Sherman's suggestion is a good one. I was going to say we could discuss it at the admin meeting, which will also be noticed, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But if we wanted to put it on the agenda for the next meeting, or I don't think we necessarily need a special meeting for it, in terms of how we want to organize and be transparent about the meetings that we hold in the future. But Michael, if you get something, you could just say that, kind of what Bruce shared, something similar to that we haven't as a commission come up with how we're going to deal with that. But I don't think we can do that tonight.
Yeah, no, I wasn't asking to. And in the meantime, I'm just going to tell them to call Bruce at home on the weekend.
Yeah, or Bruce, you could just share your email with the rest of the commission.
He did.
Okay, so there we go.
Okay.
No, I reported everybody what the OANC told me. Yeah.
I was just talking about.
Oh, well, the same developer contacting me is no doubt contacting everybody. They're probably reaching out across the board.
But your response.
Oh, my response. Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Right, that's what I'm trying to make sure that we're consistent in light of the OANC guidance, that we be consistent in our response to bidders so that we are in coordination with one another and in compliance with the OANC is telling us.
Right. And we're going to discuss that, Michael. But I mean, up until this point, what I'm suggesting is use Bruce's language if you get contacted prior to us coming up with that agreement.
Yeah, and I
Because some
just
commissioners
said,
might not want to do that. I mean, we have to discuss it as a commission and everyone needs to kind of agree on it. But I think even if we might not get 100% agreement on that. So
okay,
we really need to have a broader discussion. Commissioner, let me go to Commissioner
Yeah,
Gosselin and then we
I'm
need
gonna
to wrap
follow-
this up.
I'm going to follow Bruce's lead on this.
Go on.
Let me just say, so much has been discussed in this non-discussion that I just want to say that I think it is a mistake to chain ourselves to each other and only meet as a group with developers. I think that we could write up a very simple rules of the road for each of us, like not negotiating with the developers,
Yes.
not making promises.
Exactly.
So
Not accepting gifts.
not accepting gifts and so on and so forth. But I just, if we chain ourselves to each other,
I'm
what we're
sorry.
going to end up with is yet another public meeting
Mhm.
because we would have to meet with a quorum, and the notion of just being a community and being one voice and doing our best to try to understand and finishing every discussion by saying, go get them, boys. You know, I mean, you know, do the best proposal you can possibly do, I think is a useful thing to do. So when we do have a discussion about this and not a non-discussion, that is the position I'm going to take. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Again, just to,
yeah.
I'm going to be a bit of a pain in the rear on this. The clock is ticking. We're here on the 11th of March. The RFP deadline is April 18th. If we wait until the next meeting to decide what we're going to do with regard to meeting with the bidders or not meeting with the bidders, the train's going to have moved so far down the track for them. They're presumably wanting to get this input now. That's why they're reaching out to us. So we could do a special meeting Zoom only.
Why can't we just do it at our admin meeting?
Well, we could, except I'm suggesting that we let the public participate.
They can participate in the admin meeting.
But in an admin meeting, we already have, as you solicited ideas, we have about 50 things that people have suggested they want to talk about in an admin meeting. An admin meeting is how we operate as an institution. This strikes me as a candidate for a meeting with the community to have folks be able to talk directly to these prospective bidders. And in any event, we did reach out for the guidance, and for what it's worth, they advised us not to meet with them individually. So again, just.
So Commissioner, I mean, I think that the suggestion you're making is let's decide this now. And I'm prepared to do that. We damn well are going to get out of here by 8:30. So I mean, yeah,
it's on the hour.
But I mean, so if we want to have the discussion instead of the non-discussion, my position is that we really should be able to meet with them individually. I think we could tap out some simple rules that we should follow. And I do think, and I have met with Vicki Davis of Urban Atlantic. I said that at the beginning of tonight's
And we
meeting.
can bake the reporting into either
Every
email, every meeting. That's what I would suggest. We can bake the reporting.
I think all you need to do to see the logic of my position is to ask yourself what it would look like if we did the opposite, which is have a meeting with developers. And what's going to happen is we're going to have we're going to end up with having a lot of public commentary that we've already had. And what we want to do, and as you pointed out, you know, they're going to have to make proposals very quickly. We want to have this, I think we want something more informal. So that's how I would approach this.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about how you structure it, how you format it, and how you manage it. I don't think it's too hard to do. As much as we can be in the sunshine on this with the community, I think that's great. I mean, the idea of commissioners meeting individually, whatever you want to do. I would prefer, given the guidance, that we just go ahead and do it publicly. Yeah.
Can I just make a short comment? If I were a bidder and I looked at any testimony from a meeting, I could identify, even though you represent a range of public opinion and individual opinions, I could go to the person who I think most matches my opinions, and I could confer with them. And then I could go back and say, I went to the ANC and I got their agreement for my position.
They could say that. Well, it would be up to the ANC is also going to have to respond to the RFP and the bidders. And in their response, so one of the things that I think we should keep in mind is a documented history of these meetings and with who and, you know, as much commentary as you want to add to that, because in thinking about our resolution to DMPED, one of the things that we're going to have to talk about as an ANC in that resolution is the community engagement aspect. So if they meet with the individual commissioner and they try to, you know, insinuate that that individual commissioner had the same authority as the entire commission, we could absolutely dissuade that in the resolution and what we are conveying to DMPED in terms of how each individual developer outreach to us. But that's our burden. I mean, we're going to have to make sure that we keep good notes. I don't see how we're going to be able to meet with all the, you know, developers that approach us as a group. We have a hard time getting together. And I don't know if that's the best thing in terms of expediency, but I do think that we can come up with protocols and standards that, you know, make this a transparent process. I personally don't have any concern with individual commissioners meeting with development teams. We are all very highly cognizant people. You have former law enforcement on the commission. You have a HUD attorney on the commission. You have some pretty good folks here that understand how not to get into sticky widgets with development teams. And I do think that after reporting is important. So, you know, I would kind of go along the lines of what Peter is suggesting. That's just my opinion on
And
it.
I'd be happy to just draft something by tomorrow, or give me 48 hours. That just is 6 or 10 points that we ought to follow, including this suggestion of Lisa's that we report every meeting in writing, so that we have a written record of it. But that's so I know we have the guidance, and I suggest that we allow ourselves to meet individually, that we have some simple rules of the road.
Yeah, and
we report it.
And I would think too, one of our guiding documents should be the resolution that we passed in December. I mean, if we're doing guidelines, and I know that when I speak to folks, I'm going to be pointing to that document. That is something that we all agreed on. And I know I didn't vote in favor of the last one because I thought it was redundant and not really necessary, but you know, the community definitely has my commitment. And when I speak to developers, I'm going to be speaking with that document in mind.
And the survey.
Yeah.
So do we want to? We want to, do you want me to draft?
No, there's nothing to vote on. It's sort of every man for himself on this, which is okay. I raised the possibility of doing a meeting with the community involved. I'm hearing no to that suggestion, and that's fine. I've proposed it, and you've responded to it.
Okay, and I'd say we can certainly do a meeting. I don't object to it. I mean, we have so many meetings, but you yourself pointed out we need to move fast, and one of the reasons I took your advice and moved this from a non-discussion to a discussion is to do something fast. So, I mean, I can get around a 10-point or a 6-point or whatever point suggested rules of the road in 48 hours, and we can, you know, bump it up the way everybody feels. But does that seem like a reasonable approach?
Yeah, it does. I just to be clear, again, just to reiterate it, we did ask for guidance. That's fine. If you want to draw up something that we would then all kind of abide by, I'm fine with that. I don't know that it adds a lot to what OANC's already told us in terms of the guidance, but it's fine.
Yeah, well, I'm arguing we should reject the guidance. I mean, I mean, it's as simple as that. I think it's bad guidance. I mean, I just don't think that's the way we ought to go. But, you know, I mean, I tell you what, let's just, I will offer, I'll draft something and get it around. If you buy it or you don't buy it, it's up to you.
Okay. So let's go back to Bruce's discussion on the administrative support.
Yeah, so this is really simple. we're here on any given hybrid day from about 4 in the afternoon until 9, set up and take down. Kent Bays has been very generous as the head of the Office of the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions to come and kind of hold our hands technically to go through all this. We can't count on that support, nor should we ask him to do that. It's also a lot for any given commissioner because of the technical setup. So I'm simply proposing that we use some of our budgetary resources to hire somebody to come in on the nights that we do hybrid. So from 4 to 9, so 5 hours, do that twice a month. That's 10 hours, pay that person $20 to $25 an hour. So you're talking $200 to $250 a month. This would be, and I talked with Kent about it earlier today, an ideal opportunity for a tech savvy high school student or college student who wanted to come in and earn some money and contribute to the cause here. It also frees us up so that we're not hopping up during a meeting and pressing buttons and doing all that. This is sufficiently chaotic, and we've lived it now to say once and for all, let's kind of solve this problem. So I would be in favor of that and just making it happen. Yeah, and I'm happy to recruit someone. I also talked to Kent about the procedure for hiring. It doesn't have to take very long. I frankly would try to reach out through various networks and have somebody identified by the next hybrid meeting we do. So make it happen quickly.
All right. And Bruce, I may already have a candidate for you.
I didn't hear you, Michael. Sorry.
I said I may already have a candidate for you. We can talk offline.
Okay, great.
I'm in favor of this, but I put on the administrative agenda, or asked it to be put on there, that we get someone to do not just this, but a bunch of other things. So I want to understand how this person would relate to, because I think we need help with the website too, and we need an administrative assistant.
Administrative assistant.
So how does this relate to that person?
Well, there's a technical aspect to this. We could ask somebody to do it all. I just think that the hiring of an admin person is going to have to go through a certain protocol that's going to take some time. We needed to solve this problem like yesterday. We needed to solve it like 6 months ago. So I'm just in favor of moving on this. We're talking about $2,500 a year or something. But Zach, I know Mike wanted that.
Commissioner Nash. I'm sorry. I'm tired.
Yes. Yeah, so I came in as treasurer this last January, and this ANC has been trying to hire someone since December 2021. We have a job posting out. I really wanted, I saw this commission, we needed the help. I really tried to push. I spent a lot of hours talking to Paychecks, to Dawn Dickerson at OANC. If you've talked to her about hiring. The issue I found is not the lack of commissioners wanting help. I think every commissioner said we want help. We want to hire someone. There's no shortage of candidates. The question is, as always, there's a lot of great ideas, is implementation and getting consensus among 7 volunteers. As treasurer, last year, you can check your emails. I said we've got the money, we should do it, we should spend the money. So I agree that we have money, we have the need. So yeah, I'm in favor of this 7 volunteer commissioners coming together, reaching consensus and moving it forward. But in my experience, putting hours in this last year, it's harder to do in practice.
So let me just add to that. Michael keeps going in and out. We just need to keep this is the only thing I'm going to say on that. Our last announcement was basically quashed by Office of ANC, and we'll discuss that in the admin meeting. But they were very specific in terms of how they thought that the process should go if we hire someone. The thing that I'll be adamant about is that we open this up to the public. When we were recruiting for the admin assistant, we did the job fair. We put it out on all of our social media networks. We advertised it to everyone so we could be fair. We accepted resumes. We had someone that was separately looking at the resume process and somebody separately looking at the interview process to make sure our process was fair. And I think we have to keep that same process as ANC. If we do put something out for tech help, my suggestion is get it to all the social media channels, advertise it to schools. We got 2 Howard students sitting right here. Maybe they know someone on their campus, or maybe they're interested in it. So I'm just saying, be fair about it and make sure that it's a wide distribution network. And when it comes in, that my suggestion is set up 1 or 2 or 3 commissioners to look at all the applications, make a recommendation to the ANC, and then, yeah, let's move forward. But I agree with Zach. It's not that the commission doesn't want to do it. We got hamstrung on the last one, and we just haven't picked it back up.
No, I'm not by way of suggesting it in any way, implying that commissioners were not prepared to move forward. I just watched this get set up today, and I can guarantee you, I don't want to do it. So I'm perfectly prepared to go out and find somebody to do it, and find somebody to do it quickly, and I'm thinking that it could be a tech person that does this little piece, since it's a kind of a specific thing we need to have done. And we hire the admin person to do all of the above, because there's a lot of other stuff that we've talked about doing. So if Commissioner Zeldin has somebody maybe in mind, I take your point, we advertise it. I would also go back to OANC. Kent and I talked about it just tonight, and make sure that we're doing it in a way that's appropriate.
And it was a new council that gave us the guidance.
Yeah.
I can email you the guidance.
Okay. But what I would like to do is get concurrence of the commission to move forward on this piece, while the admin person is something obviously we take a look at and structure a separate announcement. This is technical assistance. Yeah.
Look, can I just say, I mean, it's a burden to do, but it is utterly doable. And the notion that we really need to hire an admin person with some technical abilities. But the fact of the matter is, hiring somebody in the next 2 weeks, it'll take you a week to explain to that person how to put this together. So let's, I think we just got to gut it out and set it up, get Kent to come back the 25th. I'm not going to be here our next meeting, March 25th. And he can walk you through it again. It is doable. It is a pain in the ass, but it is doable. And I don't think we need to fragment what I absolutely agree with Zach about, which is we need to hire some help, but that help should be somebody who can both do admin, can do website, and can set this stuff up and be our tech director at these meetings. And that's going to take a little more time than 2 weeks.
And I would add, maybe if you guys got somebody in mind, you can use the Brandon Gore model and have them volunteer.
I have nobody in mind. I only have a concept in mind of somebody who could do this, because it needs to get done.
And I don't mind. I mean, I really don't mind fragmenting it. I mean, I don't mind that. I mean, if we got someone that's just willing to come in and set up tech and help us with tech through the entirety of the meeting, because you might have someone that could be very good on admin, but they're not good on tech. And one of the questions that we had with the admin position is, we had candidates ask us, do we have to be there? And technically, our admin support does not have to physically be here.
Right.
But so having the separate breakout like that is not necessarily a bad idea.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Right.
Okay, but just let me say, it'll take as much work. It'll take as much work for me to guide somebody through all of this, to be our tech person sometime in the next 2 weeks. And I do not have it. I mean, if we're going to do an admin meeting,
but it could be Kent-based, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Kent could do it. But in any event,
I think that's the way to get through this immediate period.
Right.
I just need to get through this immediate period through the 25th of March.
I totally hear you, and I respect the demands on your time. I'm just asking leave to go ahead and jump into this and see what I can come up with quickly, report back to you guys. If you're happy with it, great. If you're not, you're not. We'll take it from there.
Okay, so my only caveat is that is announced.
I have nobody in mind. I'm just looking
Okay.
at this from tonight, myself, watching the cables get plugged in, saying, we need somebody to do this. So yes, we will announce it widely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Commissioners, do you want to vote, or?
What are we voting?
And how much budget?
I
are
would
we
just ask you
talking?
confer with the treasurer about
Right.
pay, and just before you distribute, just so I know what's,
Yeah, but just notionally, it's like 20 bucks an hour times 10 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
because I mean, OANC advised we have employment, a contract just outlining the scope of the work. So, that will come later, after someone interviews, but just so we can be on board with what they're getting into.
Great, thanks.
Okay, that's good.
Do we need to vote on it? You guys, otherwise like a voice support kind of thing?
I don't think we don't
Okay,
have-
all
we're
right,
good.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay,
Our very detailed minutes will reflect the discussion.
great. And so moving on, we had a admin meeting scheduled on the 14th. We're gonna have to reschedule because I didn't send that agenda or notice out. Do you guys want to try it for the following week? The week of the 8th to 17th?
Fine by me.
The 20th? I'm just trying to look at what. Eesh.
You have all the inputs for the agenda is the only thing that we'd have to
Yeah,
get
I
knocked out, right?
completely missed that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So the 20th, Wednesday, the 20th, yeah.
I've got Wednesday, the 20th. I got a 5 o'clock. You want to, I know that.
How long is it gonna run?
That goes to 6:30.
You wanna do 7 o'clock? Is that too late?
Sure, I can do 7 o'clock, but not before.
Okay. Can we do the 20th at 7?
Yeah.
Zach, is your schedule good? Okay.
And it's
Michael
hybrid, so-
Peter is good.
Hybrid.
Michael Zeldin, can you do the 20th at 7 PM?
As of right now, yep.
Great. Okay. Thank you all. Yeah, virtual. Okay. And then, are we still on for possible special meeting for the Historic Preservation Office on the 27th?
No. The 27th is not. The 27th is our first meeting on the zoning changes with OP.
Oh, is that what that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Put that
yeah,
wrong.
so the proposal, not just for this site, but to change the zoning for Upper Connecticut Avenue has been moved forward to the zoning commission. Their hearing is April 29th. I agree with Bruce that we're going to need to have several meetings about this. And the first one, Joel Lawson and
Yeah.
Maxine are going to review what the proposal is, and we'll have a.
So we're still on for that. What time is it? 6 o'clock or
I assume it's the same time as it always.
6 o'clock? Okay.
But I agree with Commissioner Sherman, we're gonna need several meetings. This is gonna be yet another hot issue for us.
Okay. And then our next regular meeting is the 25th.
And I'm gonna miss that.
Got it. Okay.
There was an admin meeting I had for tomorrow, that's all.
Yes, that's all.
Right, it's the
Well,
20th.
it was for the 14th, but it's on the 20th. Yeah. Okay. So, barring nothing else,
I'm sorry,
time,
Lisa, can you just recap this, the schedule now? We have something on the 20th and is that 7 o'clock, did you decide?
yes. So admin meeting for April 20th at 7 o'clock.
Right.
March,
March.
sorry. And then on March 27th, right, March 27th, a special meeting with Office of Planning on the zoning changes,
And what time?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
And then on the 25th, that's our regular meeting.
Okay, also at 6 now.
Right. Okay. Okay, 8:18, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Can I ask people, I'll pull out the rack. Can people put their chairs in the rack?
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Yep.
Lisa,
Mhm.
OP meeting.
Uh-huh.